Hello students, it's wonderful to have you all back. Today we're going to start with a new topic, which is your animal cell and plant cell. The objectives of this lecture are going to be that you will understand what are the main parts of your animal cell. You're going to understand the similarities and the difference between a plant and an animal cell. So, I hope you all know what an animal cell is. We humans are animals, right? I hope you all know that humans are categorized under animals. So you are going to have able to understand the animal cell better, because that is exactly the kind of cell that your body has. So talking about an animal cell, the average length or the length of an average cell of an animal cell is 10 to 30 micrometer. So which means if you're trying to line your animal cells under a ruler, you would have to use at least 100,000 or 300,000 cells to line up that into just a meter ruler, a normal meter ruler, right? So this is what an animal cell looks like in the GIF. You can see it. Talking about the structures that are present in your animal cell. The first part that you need to know about is your nucleus. Nucleus is the active part of the cell. It is always surrounded by a cell membrane. You can see that in the diagram there's a structure known as an envelope, which is your nuclear envelope. So nuclear envelope is like the membrane that is surrounding your nucleus or protecting your nucleus. Inside your nucleus there's another structure which is known as chromatin. Your chromatin is actually corresponding to the genes that are present in your chromosome that contains all the instructions for making proteins to build new cells. Your body is continuously making proteins so that those proteins can do different functions in your body. Along with that, the proteins are also helping in the making process of new cells. So these chromatins, genes, chromosomes are the structures that are going to have to help you in that protein making. The average diameter of an animal cell, or your nucleus of the animal cell, is going to be around 10 micrometer. The next structure that you need to know about is the cytoplasm of the cell. So the cytoplasm of the cell is the gel that you see inside the cell. It has all the organelles suspended into it. If you look at the GIF, you can see the cytoplasm is the transparent part, while your organelles are the colorful part. Once you see the inside of the cell, here you see the transparent part as cytoplasm and your colorful organelles. Most of all the chemical reactions that are taking place in a cell happen in your cytoplasm, because it is like the matrix of my cell. So the matrix is going to have all the kind of reactions, intake and outtake, and every other instruction that is given to the cell happening inside the cytoplasm of the cell. Talking about the next structure, which is your cell membrane. The cell membrane is the covering of your cell. The cell is covered by a membrane so that all the organelles and your nucleus can stay bound in a structure. So that structure is known as cell membrane, while your cell membrane is controlling the passages of your substances like glucose that is used for energy transformation. So your glucose gives energy to your body. Along with that, there's going to be certain minerals which are present in ion forms. For example, sodium and potassium. Both of these are examples of your mineral ions that are used in the body that move from inside of the cell to the outside of the cell. These both processes of movement are controlled by a cell membrane, because every time something goes inside or outside of the cell, it is going to have to connect with your cell membrane, has to ask for permission to move in and out of the cell. Another thing that my cell membrane does is control the movement of the substances such as urea, which is a waste material of the cell, and hormones, which are used for different functions in the body, so that these both structures can move in and out of the cell. although urea is never going to move in the cell because it's the waste the cell is excreting out, hormones sometimes can be produced in the cell and are sent outside the cell for their functions. The next structure that you need to talk about is a mitochondria. Mitochondria is actually the powerhouse of the cell. When I say powerhouse of the cell, I mean all the energy that you have in your cells is provided by your mitochondria. How is that done? These structures that are known as mitochondria are capable of anaerobic respiration that is taking place in a cell. In that respiratory process, there is a release of energy that can later be used by surrounding muscles and your cell itself also. So this anaerobic respiration is very, very important so that my cell can produce energy and do the functions that are required for the survival of the individual. The size of a mitochondria is very, very small. It is only 1 to 2 micrometer in length, while 0.2 to 0.7 micrometer in diameter. Talking about the next structure, which is your ribosomes. Ribosomes are present outside your nucleus, bound to an organelle which is known as rough endoplasmic reticulum. Ribosomes are present on the structure which is known as rough endoplasmic reticulum, and ribosomes are responsible for protein synthesis. This is the site of protein synthesis. Whatever proteins are made in your cell are there made by your ribosomes. These are also making all the necessary proteins for your cell. This completes all the organelles that are there in my animal cell. Talking about the first, plant cell. So the plant cells, I hope you understand, are very, very different from your animal cells. So there are going to be different kind of cells in plants like we have different kind of cells in our body. But the one thing that is very prominently different in a plant cell and an animal cell is the capability of plant cells to make their own food through photosynthesis. Also, that my cell body or my plant body, the entire plant organism cannot move their body from one place to another place, which is why the cells are going to have to be stronger so that they can survive all the kind of environment that they are produced to and they are faced upon to. Then the second thing that you need to remember about is that the plant cells are a lot larger in size as comparison to your animal cells. They at least have a length of 10 to 100 micrometers. Now, because the exposure of my plant cells to the environment is permanent, they are permanently outside in the environment and they're doing their all functions. They are still producing their food by photosynthesis and they're trying to do their best to survive. There are features that are going to be special in your plant cells. So your plant cells are going to have all the features that are present in your animal cell. But along with those, there are going to be extra essential structures that are required for different functions. Before moving to the organelles or the structures that are present in your plant cell, we have to talk about another organism which is very, very similar to your plant cells, algae. So your algae is a simple aquatic organism that is capable of performing photosynthesis. Now, because we know that the animals cannot perform any kind of photosynthesis while your plants can, so when the algae were found, they were naturally thought to be organisms which are plant-like. These have a lot of similar features with plants, which is exactly why they were classified under plants in the earlier times. But as the studies about algae became deeper and more sensible, scientific, we actually have to keep them under a different kingdom, which is now known as Protista. So algae, the organisms, are kept under a kingdom which is known as Protista, while plants, all the kind of plants, are kept under a kingdom which is known as Plantae. This is this is a plant cell that you're looking at. So there are different structures present in your plant cell which are not there in your animal cell. One such structure is the presence of cell wall in both your plant cells and algal cell. Cell wall is usually composed of your cellulose that is capable of strengthening your cell along with giving it some support. The first organelle or the subcellular structure that you need to remember about a plant cell is a chloroplast. A chloroplast is approximately 3 to 5 micrometer long, and it is found in all green plants of the parts of the plant. Green parts of the plant means that every part that you can see is green in color, whether it be the base of your flower or your leaf or your stem. Every part that is green in color is going to have chloroplast. The color that is imparted from your chloroplast is green because of the presence of a chlorophyll, which is a pigment. This pigment helps in photosynthesis. So the chlorophyll will absorb the light for the plant so that it can make the food through photosynthesis. Now your roots are present underground and they're not exposed to any kind of light. But if you take them out, you can see that the color of the roots are usually brownish. So the roots will never have chlorophyll because they are underground and are not exposed to any kind of light. So they're not having any pigment, which is chlorophyll. Therefore, they're not capable of performing photosynthesis. The other organelle that you need to remember for your plant cells is a permanent vacuole. A permanent vacuole is a space in the cytoplasm. I hope you remember what a cytoplasm was, the matrix of the cell. In the matrix of the cell, there is a large vacuole which is permanent and is filled with cell sap. It is important for keeping the cell rigid and to support the plant cell. So this is what a plant cell is going to look like. It is going to have organelles like here. Nucleus. It is going to have organelle which is also present in animals, which is mitochondria. Along with that, it is going to have ribosomes on a structure which is known as ER. Other than these parts that are already present in your animal cell, there is a special structure, which is the green one, which is your chloroplast, and a permanent vacuole. So these are the structures that are present in your plant cell. I hope you understood what a plant cell and an animal cell has, why are they different, and how are they different. This completes my topic for your plant cell and animal cell. In further sections, we're going to talk about the specialization of these cells. So please revise this and meet me in the next lecture talking about a new topic.